Hi, everyone. This video is all about functions of behavior. So when you hear somebody refer to something as a behavioral function, what we're really talking about is sources of reinforcement. So with behavioral functions, students can either be accessing something they perceive as pleasant or desirable, or avoiding or altogether escaping something they perceive as unpleasant, undesirable. So let's start with what students might be accessing that's maintaining or increasing future rates of behavior. So one function of behavior that involves accessing something pleasant or desirable involves tangibles, which a tangible is just a fancy word for a preferred item activity experience. I'll give you kind of a random example because my students say random examples help them remember these topics. So when I was a behavior specialist, I worked with a student who really, really liked the Star Lab. And for those of you that don't know what a Star Lab is, think of it as like an inflatable bounce house that you go up into and learn about constellations, the solar system. It supplemented our science curriculum. Okay. And it was only up for a couple of weeks a school year in the school library. Okay. And she would leave her classroom without permission to go into the Star Lab. And I, as a behavior specialist, had to climb up into this inflatable bounce house and try to verbally redirect this kindergartner out of the bounce house, which honestly, and I agree, it was one of the coolest things in the school. So behavior is a humbling field. I'll put it that way. But think about it this way. If that student had unrestricted access to the Star Lab, would that problem behavior of leaving assigned areas without permission be happening? The answer is no. Odds are, if the answer to that question is no for you, if your students had unrestricted access to preferred items, activities, problem behavior wouldn't occur. That could be behavior maintained by access to tangibles. Okay, another function, access to attention. So typically we think of this as students that are maybe talking to peers without permission. That's access to attention. Maybe calling out without permission, access to attention. Okay, it could also be students that kind of like to stir the pot. So I don't know if any of you have encountered students like this, but I certainly have. Students that maybe intentionally trigger other students to see those students engage in problem behaviors, and they just kind of sit back and watch the chaos unfold. That's also behavior maintained by access to attention. So ask yourself this question. If no one else were around, would the problem behavior still occur? If the answer is no, that could be a sign that that behavior is maintained by access to attention. Okay. The third thing that students can access that maintains increases rates of behavior moving forward is sensory or automatic reinforcement, which is reinforcement obtained through one or more of the five senses. Going back to my random examples, I worked with a young learner who would run to the cafeteria certain days of the month when they knew certain foods were going to be prepared. I don't remember what the food was. Maybe it was the Thanksgiving dinner. I forget. But they would only go on certain days when certain foods were being prepared. They diligently studied the school menu and knew what foods were going to be prepared on certain days. Okay, so for that student, that was sensory reinforcement. That the smell of those foods being prepared was incredibly reinforcing. So ask yourself this question: if students had unrestricted access to sensory stimuli, would the problem behavior still happen? If the answer is no, that could be a sign that sensory automatic reinforcement is maintaining the behavior. Going back to my example, if that student could spend the entire day in the cafeteria, they wouldn't leave assigned areas without permission because they would be able to be there to smell the yummy foods being made. Okay, so three types of behavior maintained by access: tangibles, attention, sensory. The other function is avoidance escape. Okay, I was big on this when I was working on my dissertation. Our apartment was spotless. I was cooking dinner every night, doing the dishes, because I was looking for anything I could to avoid writing my dissertation. Even for a few minutes, it was incredibly reinforcing to avoid writing my dissertation. I knew I couldn't put it off forever, but I could put it off for at least a little bit by doing some of those household chores. Our students could be the same way. Maybe they are leaving the classroom to go to their locker, go to the bathroom frequently, and it's not a medical emergency. Ask yourself this question: if there were no task demands present, would students be asking to go to the bathroom, asking to go to their locker? If the answer is no, that could be a sign that avoidance escape is maintaining that behavior. Okay, you could also see sensory avoidance. Maybe students find certain sensory stimuli aversive, hand washing, the fire alarm, for example, and we see behaviors maintained by avoiding or altogether escaping those non-preferred tasks or experiences. That's another example of avoidance escape maintained behavior. Save the best one for last. It could be behavior maintained by multiple functions. So I've worked with high school students who have cursed out teachers because they get lots of oohs and ahs from their peers. That's access to attention. They're kicked out of class, which is their least favorite class. That's avoidance escape. And then they go down to the office and maybe there's not somebody there to meet with them and they just get to be on their phone for 15, 20 minutes, and that's tangibles. Okay, so behavior can be maintained by more than one function. I love food examples. The way I remember the functions of behavior: everybody eats. E is for escape avoidance, A is for attention, T is for tangibles, and C is for sensory. I hope you all find that helpful. Have a great day.